Hello and welcome to Let's Animate. Today I'm going to show you how I made this cool animation on this Nameless King wallpaper. So as you can see here, I've added a few effects to it. So the first thing I added was Discharge. So as you can see, it's just lightning following along those already existing lines. And the way I did it is simple. Just add some lightning, discharge, and as you can see, it's really messy right now. So let's just put them along and change the color. But it's too fast and also too wide. I don't want it to go left and right. So let's just change the X to make it smaller, like that. And reduce the opacity a bit, because it's too bright otherwise. And then just mess around with the slider, the playback rate, until you're satisfied with the speed, and then reduce the count. And then you'll have this little lightning going back and forth along this line. I made 3 of them. One here, and one there. Also make sure to change the playback rate to have a different one for each, so that they're not synchronized and it adds variety. Okay, then I added some torch effect right there. So it's very simple. The way you would do it is to just go fire, torch, and then you got this flame. So you just scale it, rotate it, and then what I did is just make it smaller on the x-axis again. And yeah, that's it. And then you put it over the sword, you reduce the opacity, and then you get this effect here. Just to add a bit of heat. And speaking of heat, we need heat distortion around the weapon because it's supposed to be very hot. So what I did here is I added the water ripple effect. So just take an opacity mask and paint wherever you want the effect to be. So around here, I'm just going to do a rough job. Okay. Leave the animation speed at like this for now, even crank it up to see what is affected and what is not affected. Then reduce the strength until you're happy with it. And once you got it right, you just reduce the speed and you'll get this heat effect. That's pretty much how you do it, or how I do it. So I'll just turn back on this one. Yeah, this one was slower. Maybe let's change that a bit. Yeah. Okay, so now we have heat. Let's add embers now. So it's fairly easy again. Just add ember. Put them here, scale it up, rotate. And something like that would do the job. Just change the color to yellowish orange. Maybe reduce the size of the particles and the count. It's up to you. And so you can end up with something like this. Just a few. Oh, let's reset the camera. You just get a few coming in, and they match the color of the existing ones on the wallpaper. Okay, next thing I did is the weapon pulse. So I just simply added a pulse effect, and what I did is I created an opacity mask. Let's see it. Okay, and I just painted along the yellow lines. It's a fairly tedious process. You have to do it manually, either with a mouse or a tablet, and you just go along the lines. And yeah, it's pretty tedious, but it can be really cool. And that's pretty much it for the weapon, except for the lightning cloud. Because again, this has a lot of lightning on the weapon, so I added a few clouds. Let's just reduce the opacity and the count. So you then occasionally get these lightning bolts. And yeah, that's it. Let's add also these Thunderbolts on top, which you can occasionally see, like this one. So the way I did it is that, well, obviously just using the Thunderbolt. However, I don't want it to be too fast and too obtrusive. Like, I don't want the lightning bolts to be over the hair, and they need to be like much slower. So the way to do it would be to reduce the count and the playback rate and scale this up. Not that much. And so by doing that, you'll get some slower lightning, but it will have a bigger impact when you see it. Especially since the whole fight is pretty... well, it's not very slow, but the slowness of this whole animation, of all the animations, make for... like, it shows how powerful the boss is. Or at least that's the feeling I get. And then I just added some fog left and right to add to the scene, because it's supposed to be in a very cloudy and stormy environment. So yeah, just a bit of fog. I could even make it gray. And yeah, that's for the whole setting. Now the only thing left is the armor. So how do you animate that? Let's look at the hair. To do it, I use the water flow and use a flow map and paint it. I just followed the hair like this, left and right. Just follow along with the flow, with the hair, and eventually you'll get something like, let's see, like this. Yeah, come on. So you just have to adjust your movement, and once you get it, yeah, it looks something like this. You can get a smaller brush here and get into the finer, the smaller parts of it, sorry. The way to do it is you just start painting on it without changing the sliders so that you see what is affected and what's not. Whoops. And as you can see, without tweaking the sliders, you can see what's moving and what's not. And so if you accidentally hit the crown, you'll just see this weird effect. So just leave those on when you start. At least that's what I do, and it's really useful. And then you get something like this. So then you just tweak the speed and the strength until you get something you like. And that's pretty much the same for the armor, actually. Let's see the flow map. Yep, just followed along the same, following the movement again. And yeah, just have it really slow. And it's pretty much the same for the clothes or the belts, whatever it is called. And yeah, using the water flow is really good for this kind of animation, especially for hair like that. Yep. And when you just reset the camera, when you look at it, it's really slow and, like, I don't know, gives this character a presence on the wallpaper. Especially since it's really slow. Everything is quite slow on the wallpaper. And perhaps the embers are too fast, actually. So let's, oops, reduce the playback rate. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Effects left, right. We have thunder, smoke. The armor is animated. You could also add some pulse in the eyes, but it's a skull, so I think that's not really relevant here. And yeah, hopefully you learned something in this process, and yeah, I'll see you next time. See ya!